Hi, everybody, and welcome to Culture Under Fire with Marjorie Waldo. That's me. We're making a case for the arts today. The episode is titled Creative Capital, the Arts as an Engine for Economic Growth. And I have today with me Kelly Smallridge, who I'll introduce to you in a moment. We want to know what happens when creativity meets community. Kelly Smallridge is the president and CEO of the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, and she's joining me today to talk about what makes a community magnetic. As Kelly's leadership continues to bring growth to Palm Beach County, we'll highlight how arts, innovation, and collaboration build Palm Beach County's sense of place and how business and culture can drive inclusive growth. Welcome to Culture Under Fire, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's really nice that you took the time to come down and chat with me today. I want to brag about you a little bit because I looked at your bio, and you are a graduate of the University of Florida, right here in our state. You are the longest tenured economic development president in Florida, and it's 34 years, which means that you started when you were 10 or something like that. You are the president of the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, which is the official public-private economic development organization, which I want to dig into a little bit for my own learning and for the listeners. You have been recognized, this is something, with numerous awards, including Florida Economic Developer of the Year. You've been included in Florida Trends, Florida's 500 Most Influential Business Leaders, the Governor's Ambassador Medal for creating jobs in Palm Beach County. You were the Woman of the Year by the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce, and you were the Ultimate CEO by Small Florida Business Journal, and you've been inducted into University of Florida's Academy of Golden Gators. Yes. There were like 20 other commendations that I could have listed here. You're impressive.
I don't know about that, but
I'd say so.
I love my job, so
I think that's
helps.
Awesome.
Yes.
And we were talking before we started recording, and you said that you were born and raised in Palm Beach County.
Yes.
It's really cool.
I'm actually a product of the Palm Beach County public school system. Went K through 12 in Palm Beach County's public schools. And then, like you said, I went off to the University of Florida. So I approach economic development in this county with a passion as someone who loves this county. I was not brought in from the outside, and I want to make sure that the quality of life is parallel to the great job creation that the Business Development Board is charged with.
Yeah, and you have a perspective that because, well, the county's a very large county anyway, and is very diverse in its regions, right? You've got the west side of the county, which is completely different than the east. Southeast is very different from northeast. So you're seeing it all. And you saw it from Florida as well. From the University of Florida.
Absolutely. And this organization covers all 2,000 square miles of this county. So in any given day, I woke up and headed to Palm Beach Gardens this morning at 7. I was in Boca last night. I will be in the Glades this afternoon. And I get the advantage of seeing all of the economic activity, playing a role in ensuring quality, balance, good jobs coming to this area. And I've been very happy with the progress that we've made, knowing where we came from in the late 1980s when I started in this position out of college.
Delray in particular was a very, I came in the late 90s, but it was a very different place in the mid to early 80s. Until probably the late 90s when it started to shift, I think.
Yes, everybody knows that this economy was built on tourism, real estate, agriculture, and construction. Mm-hmm. And when they formed the Business Development Board well over 45 years ago, the business community said, while we love those pillars of industry, we would like to have higher paying jobs, more diversity, because as you mentioned, back in the 1980s, 70s, 60s, this was a very seasonal economy. Nothing happened in the summer. So we want this organization to serve on the front lines every day, to go out and nurture the companies in our backyard, but at the same time, bring in high-tech innovation, targeted industries that will help raise the average salary of the residents of Palm Beach County and give our students a wide variety of jobs to come back to.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing. Is it's a really cool idea that we have a child, right? My kids grew up in public schools here as well and did very well and are doing very well as adults. I think it's great if we are growing our own, if you will, and providing something that they want to come back to and feel drawn to when they're ready to work.
Right.
And build their careers.
So you touched on a very important part of our work. As we recruit, retain, and expand companies to Palm Beach County, back in the 1980s, there was this thing called the brain drain, where you graduated from high school or college, you thought you needed to go to New York, Chicago, or Boston for a job. We were educating talent, but the talent was leaving this area. It is so ironic now that young kids are actually dying to stay here because places like Delray have so highly amenitized their city that it now has assets that make it attractive for the young, educated workforce. So while the average age back in the 1980s was about 65, the average age today in this county is somewhere about 39 and a half. Significantly
difference.
Younger. And we focus a lot also, not only recruiting the jobs and growing in our backyard, but making sure that our high school and college students understand that you don't have to go away to get a good quality job. There is a ladder here. No matter whether you have a high school degree or a doctorate degree, there are jobs right here in your backyard.
Right. And I think it's working for our hopeful homegrown workers and families. But I think it's also working for people who see us from other states. If you look at the pandemic, we saw a significant growth in population in South Florida because people in the Northeast realized that if something happens that was so horrible, like the pandemic, at least if you live in Delray Beach, you can eat outside at a restaurant during a pandemic.
Absolutely. The pandemic was a really big turning point for this county. And I think people need to understand sort of the underlying assets that were there that made this a prime area. First of all, for 20 years prior to the pandemic, we had already been priming the pump, building the foundation here in Palm Beach County to be ripe for good economic growth, meaning that the cultural community, parks, recreation, public-private schools, commercial office buildings, prime retail was already in place. We created this initiative back in 2011 called Wall Street South.
Oh, how cool is that? I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that.
It was created so long ago, and it started by identifying executives who bought homes along the ocean of a value of an arbitrary number that I picked of about $6 million. Right. Today, I would never pick that number.
No.
Today, it would be somewhere around 10 or 20 million.
Well, those same homes are being sold for that.
Correct.
For in the low 20s, for sure.
Correct. And we studied the executives that were buying homes here and realized that so many of them had a business that was located in the Northeast and did not have any business presence here. When we created that initiative, we identified 180 executives that bought homes in our county from Jupiter to Boca Raton, and that became a target market for us. So when COVID hit, many of those executives had already been receiving mailings from us. They had their home here already, or they vacationed here with their grandparents or their family. They had a really great knowledge of what Palm Beach County already had to offer. Technology allowed them to work here with no blip on the radar screen, no interruption. And while they're sitting working remotely out of a Delray Beach location, they turn around and say, I could be doing this 365 days out of the year. There's no state tax on personal income, so we automatically get a raise. And why don't we just consider opening up a location here?
Right.
$30 billion left the Northeast and came to the state of Florida.
Really?
Palm Beach County captured the most out of that $30 billion. We captured $10 billion.
A third.
A third, even though there are 67 counties in the state of Florida, this one county captured the vast majority of wealth that came to the state right after. And most of that fell in alignment with companies that moved here in the financial services area. And I say that because if you look at arts in Delray or throughout this county or cultural facilities, I think one of the reasons why they are doing so well is because there has been so much new money moving in. And these executives are leaning in to be a part of the boards or leaning in to give money, whether we're looking at a museum, a Kravis Center, a Center for the Arts, a YMCA, a science museum, a zoo. Everybody is benefiting from this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people want to feel connected when they move somewhere, right? They don't want to, unless I want to get away for a vacation, I want to feel connected to everything that's happening in Delray, right?
Absolutely.
And in Palm Beach County. I think that if you have enough really great places to give a selection to these people who are moving in, there's easily something that they can engage with. And often those opportunities often align with their company's vision.
Absolutely.
Right?
And arts and culture is a big part of our Dog and Pony Show. So this afternoon, we'll get a user coming in that wants to do 20,000 square feet of Class A office space. And they are looking at a second regional headquarters that they possibly will move here. But we're also in competition with North Carolina, South Carolina, Nashville, and Austin. That is very, very typical. We will get on the road. We will showcase all office buildings that meet their requirements. And then we will show them the schools. We will show them the amenities in the area. And then they'll want to know about arts, culture, and recreation.
They ask about that.
They ask about that.
Okay.
They ask about that because that's what they're used to from the area that they came from.
Right.
And they know that in order to fully get operational in this area quickly, a lot of it depends on their ability to attract talent. And talent will move here if they believe it's the best quality of life.
Right.
Gone are the days when you move somewhere just for a job.
Right.
Today's generation moves to an area if they want to live there.
Right.
Not based on the job. It's where do I want to live and then work my way backwards, then I'll get a job. When you have great arts and cultural offerings, that tips the scale in our favor and helps us rise to the top of the pack.
And I gotta say, from a personal perspective, I think it's really smart that younger people, when I accepted my first job, I didn't know what I wanted to do. It had nothing to do with arts and culture and it had nothing to do with my prior career of education. All my father wanted was for me to stay there.
Yes.
And grow in that company. Right. And I changed jobs probably 10 times in 2 years trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And all I got was heat from my family about not being able to commit, right? Mm-hmm. I think that people are getting smarter.
Right.
They understand that to be happy, you need more than just what you do from 9 to 5, right?
Exactly. And that talent that's coming here, those are the people that are frequenting our restaurants.
Right.
They are shopping. They're going to concerts.
Right.
And when we're courting the company, they'll bring in the young 25 to 45-year-olds and say, okay, Business Development Board, stand up and talk about what do these people do outside of 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And therein lies where we partner with the Cultural Council to come in and talk about
incredible organization.
And they are a big part of our sales team to talk about all of the other things that you do, because the company then turns around and uses that as the pitch to get that talent here.
Right.
I also would add that the amenity of Brightline also opens up a whole corridor north and south of other, like we can recruit talent. We can go to a game down in Miami. So we have to remember that when we're selling this area, we're selling Delray, we're selling Palm Beach County, we're selling the region. At the end, we benefit here in Palm Beach County because we want to land those corporations that then pay taxes and alleviate the burden on us as residents paying those taxes fully.
For
right?
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you, how is your organization funded?
Very good question. So the Business Development Board has always had the same funding model. And you mentioned that we are a public-private partnership. We are not an arm of government. We were created over 45 years ago by the private business community, the Economic Council and the Chambers of Commerce and private business leaders. We are funded 65, if not 70%, through businesses who participate in a membership program that want to see good quality economic development, diversity, balance, and good jobs come to the area, so they pay a membership fee. The other 35 or 30% comes from the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
And that means more to us than just the money. What it does is it designates this board as the official economic development board to stand on the front line so that when a CEO comes here, there aren't 39 city mayors all going after the same company. It is a unified voice through the Business Development Board. At that point, we bring in the appropriate mayors, depending upon where the company is looking.
Right.
So if Amazon is looking at moving to this area, the Business Development Board will work directly with Amazon. We do not want 39 mayors sending municipal pitches, or else it's going to look like Palm Beach County is so fragmented. So it's a 70-30 split, private and public money that comes into this organization. 350 private members belong here. The Board of County Commissioners have been extremely supportive and a big part of our efforts.
I think it makes a big difference. I know for me and Arts Garage, it's not just the dollars that we receive from the city of Delray Beach. I feel that they have confidence in us to make them look good, to bring something beautiful and rich to the people who live in our area. And it does. It gives you a sense of credibility in the community,
Absolutely.
I think, when your local or municipality supports you, and in this case, the county municipality. I think it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And I think on top of having that county partnership and designation, the Business Development Board is the only organization in all of Palm Beach County that serves as the official partner to the state of Florida. So the governor has his statewide economic development arm called Florida Commerce for national economic development. And then he has Select Florida for international economic development.
Okay.
Those two entities have said that there's only one organization in each of 67 counties that will ever get leads from us, partner with us, and serve on the front line. And that is this organization. And we've had that designation for
Isn't that
decades.
wonderful?
And again, that is to promote collaboration and make sure that the lead goes to one entity, and then we work collaboratively with our 39 cities.
Yeah, I think that's really, really interesting. And I don't know what your organization will do if you ever decide to take a break, because when you've been somewhere 34 years and the place has only been around 45, then that transition, I assume you have a succession plan, or maybe you just plan to stay there until you drop over, which I think is my theory at Arts Garage. But so tell me, out of everything that you've done in your 34 years there specifically, what do you think is most memorable, or what are you the proudest of?
So I'll talk big picture, and then I'll narrow in on my most proudest initiative. I would say that big picture, what I'm so proud of is I remember the day when I came out of University of Florida, and I got the job because I was home on a weekend to go to Sunfest.
Okay.
And I applied for a job through classified ads in the Palm Beach Post.
Great.
And the phone rang that Saturday, and they said, "We'd like for you to come in for an interview." And I started to shake my head and tell the CEO, "No, I'm not, because I'm going to Sunfest." And my mother was there. And my mother said, "Absolutely not. I'm taking you to Burdines," if you remember Burdines.
Yes, I do.
"And we're getting you a suit, and you're going in this afternoon for this interview because you're having a job. And when you graduate, your dad and I are turning over all the bills to you."
Right.
But when I graduated, there were no places to work in Palm Beach County if you had a college degree. There was Florida Power and Light, Pratt Whitney, and IBM, of which I did not want a job in any of those places. I was a public relations business graduate, and I wanted to go and do public relations and marketing and promotions. I thought I was going to be a news anchor one day. And I just remember thinking, gosh, this place is really great, but where do people go to work? And so when I landed a job at the Business Development Board, I approached it with this idea that how do we really build this place to be something that young people like me at that time want to come home to? So what I'm most proud of is that we went from this economy of lower paying jobs, very cyclical, where things happened only October to March, to now we are a booming economy. We rank first in the state for the amount of growth coming to this area, and it's good quality growth. I'm focused on quality, not quantity.
Right.
So that's my bigger sort of look at the transformation that we've been able to lead, but giving credit to the fact that we've led through collaboration. We're not taking credit for all of this. We've been able to make it happen because we work with our cities, our county, our state, our chambers of commerce.
Two things.
Very, it is all about us. It's not about the BDB.
Yeah.
And I think that's a gift that we've had in that we collaborate to win. We don't want to take the credit.
Don't you think, first of all, that you owe your mom a ton of
love
I do for that?
I do.
It's good that we push them, right?
Yes.
But also, I think it's very interesting. For me, my undergraduate degree was in theater. I use it every day. And I'm not in a play.
Right.
Or on a stage. I'm using it every day. Same with public relations, no?
Absolutely. I remember when it was not popular at that time to graduate with a degree in PR, and probably no one knew what it was. But I always say that you could be a super great leader. You can have like the greatest engineering mind, but if you can't get up and sell something,
for sure,
it makes it very hard to rise through the ranks. So I'm very appreciative that I stayed in that industry.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
But to further answer your question, so
Please.
Initiative, I think that the Wall Street South initiative and the movement of innovative minds, the movement of companies that want to lean in, the transformation that's occurred since 2020 is probably the single initiative that I'm most proud of. And it's not because of the money that's moved here. It's because who's moved here that has made a difference in arts, culture, recreation, our schools, our healthcare. They are giving back. Look at the fact that Vanderbilt University is opening a campus here. Do you think they would have ever opened a campus?
For sure.
If it weren't for that? Do you think that the Norton, the Kravis, all of these cultural amenities would be expanding if it weren't for this movement of people, ideas, technology, and innovation since 2020? And so I'm thankful that the community got behind us when we had this crazy idea in 2011. From 2011 to 2020, it was a pipe dream.
Right.
And when COVID hit, like I said, we had the roadmap, everybody got behind it, and it finally, our dream came true. But I think that is the initiative I'm the most proud of.
Well, it's visionary, really. You know, the idea of creating something here that draws the power of what is in the Northeast to our county, visionary.
And I think that when we stood on a stage in 2011 and I said, here are 5 companies that are moving here in the finance industry out of New York, I could literally see people laughing at me in the audience because I had called it Behind the Gates at the time, where I was going behind the gates and into the homes to pitch CEOs on, have you ever considered moving your business to Palm Beach County? The hardest part of leading that initiative is not getting discouraged by the naysayers and staying on that path for well over 20 years to get us to where we are today.
It's a long game. It's not a sprint.
No, it's a marathon. It truly is a marathon. And I am also thankful that so many people stayed on that path with us, but we all even laugh at ourselves today that no one took us serious when we said our goal is to start bringing in. Our average salary at the time was about $40,000. Our average salary in this county today is $79,000. We have the highest average salary of all 67 counties in the state of Florida. I remember a time when I didn't want to get out of bed because the headlines read, why does Palm Beach County have these low-paying jobs? When are you ever going to catch up? And today we are at the very top.
So interesting because a lot of people, myself included, I think, believe that what you do is all about big business. And it is. But
some
it's
degree.
motivated by something very different and something very important to everyone, which is how are the residents living?
Right.
How can we improve our lives?
I'm glad you brought that up because I do think that there is the misperception that it's all about big business. But I will tell you that every day I have small business come into my office, and I never have a small business person come in and all of them ask for help. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
And say, I want to be introduced to other small businesses. Their ask is, I want to be introduced to big businesses
Right.
that will help boost my revenue.
Right.
And my point is, these businesses that are coming in may be big, but small business is thriving off of what we've brought in. I love when the big business that just moved their regional headquarters calls us and says, can you introduce us to the local lunch caterer to bring lunches to our office? Can you introduce us to the florist? Can you introduce us to the
Right.
dry cleaner, the
Right.
coffee shop? So let's all remember from a resident's perspective, this is not about bringing in big companies because most of the companies in this county are very small.
Right.
This is about really creating diversity so that when we go into a recession, that we are well equipped.
Right.
It's about boosting our small businesses and opening up doors and creating more long-term economic sustainability so we don't go through these cycles in this county where we're dead from Easter to October.
And in the entertainment business, arts and culture is hugely impacted, just like restaurants
Yes.
and anything else that tourists frequent.
Right.
We're very susceptible to that. We're very susceptible to that. And figuring out how to keep that from happening so you don't have to overcharge for your services
Right.
during season so that you can barely fill the room during the summer is really important. So you're right. And that's where a lot of the support that comes from larger businesses
Absolutely.
helps us, you know?
One of my favorite places to entertain clients is right here on Atlantic Avenue. It is the place that I think shines in this county from a restaurant, retail,
I'm
quality.
trying to guess which one it is, but I'm not going to try.
Well, right, I'll go anywhere on Atlantic Avenue. Right?
Oh, you like them all?
I like
Yes.
them all. I have a place where I like to go for the first course, the second course,
Right.
the third. I like them all.
Right.
And I bring clients to see that. I remember bringing them here in summer months and it wasn't so busy. I bring them here now in summer months. I'm lucky to get a parking space.
That's right.
But I think this area of our county plays such a very important role in the overall decision of whether or not companies actually locate here. This is part of our quality of life. I recently met with the city of Delray Beach on an economic development issue, and I said, don't underestimate what you all have here. Because while a company may not physically put their headquarters here, their executives are living here,
That's
their
right.
employees are living here, and at the end of the day, you still financially benefit. So let's all get away from thinking that this city only benefits if the company locates here. I've never met a company that locates somewhere and does all their business in that one spot.
Correct.
We all benefit here in Palm
Correct.
Beach County. Your kids go to school outside of the city where you live. You go to the grocery store, you go to the cleaners, you contract out all day long, and you don't just do it in one city. So we all win.
Delray Beach is different too. There are other towns like ours, but it's a relatively small town.
Yes.
It's a compact city center, right?
Right.
Reminds me of Worth Avenue in Lake Worth, or it's different in Boca, but Meisner, it's very bustling all the
Yes.
time. And that's reminiscent of some of the larger cities in the Northeast that people are relocating from.
It's very quaint,
Yes.
charming. It's organic. It's not your big box retailers
That's
when you
right.
go down Atlantic. And it just has a really great feel and vibe. And people love it, whether you were
Yeah.
like me, born and raised here, or if you come from the Northeast. It truly is special in
For
this city.
sure. The commission's done a really good job,
They
I
have.
think, at protecting that small town feel while we've grown.
Yeah. There was a former leader by the name of Tom Lynch who
Yes.
served as the mayor when this city
Yes.
became the Great American City. And it was in 2004 or 5, Tom Lynch was the chair of the Business Development Board.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At the time that the board had to make the decision as to who would be the next CEO. And here I am, very, very young with 3 babies at home. And I credit Tom Lynch. He led the board that made the decision to appoint me as the president and gave me a shot when I was a very, very young mother to run this organization.
Isn't that
Yes.
awesome?
Yes. So I have a deep love for Tom and Plastered Insurance and now his 2 sons that have taken over.
Yeah,
He
I
was a
only know
visionary.
Connor, but he is
Yes.
amazing.
Absolutely.
So is that organization.
Absolutely. And they're givers to this community.
Big time. Two
Yeah.
Arts Garage for sure.
Absolutely. Connor's now on our board.
Oh, that's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes.
And a family guy also, he
Yes.
sees the connection from resident to business owner.
Yeah.
to
Big
the bigger
cheerleader.
picture.
Yeah.
Good people. And that's, I think, one of the things I like about Delray the most is there are so many good people here.
Yeah.
And I've known a lot of them for a really long time. So advice for communities, and then I want to talk specifically about arts and culture for just a minute because we're almost out of time. What should communities remember when they're thinking about your organization and the work that you do?
Communities really need to lean in and understand that we are the sales and marketing team for all of Palm Beach County.
Okay.
Communities are the design and engineering team for Palm Beach County. And residents, elected officials, community leaders, chambers of commerce, you're designing and turning over to us what we have to sell. So if you build a 5,000 square foot office building or you build a 200,000 square foot office building, you will get what you plan for.
Right.
If you build parks, recreation, entertainment, and arts, then you will get those types of people that come into your community. And so if you look at it that way, then you know what your outcome is going to be in terms of economic development and what we can deliver. I think sometimes communities will come to us and say, why didn't XYZ company land in our community? And I'll say, well, Mayor, do you have 50,000 square feet of space? And they say no. And I said, well, how are they going to land in your community? So the product that the community puts together will dictate the type of end user that you will get.
Right.
And that end user plays into what this community will look like.
Well, and so I think that's an easy slide into the question of the role arts and culture plays. I feel like I have a very strong understanding of how it plays in terms of individual impact and community impact, including governmental revenue, right?
Right.
So the Arts and Economic Prosperity Calculator helps us figure out approximately based on revenues and expenses and number of employees, how much we're bringing to the state, to the county, to the town that that we live in. And I know the impact it makes on individuals because they're very willing at Arts Garage, our patrons, just share with us all the time how much it matters what we offer. But how does it matter in terms of bringing business to our area? You've touched on it, but I want you to kind of...
I'll elaborate a little more. So back in 1988 or 1990, the Business Development Board did a survey of existing industries. And we asked them, of course, the normal questions of what do you think the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats are? And I'll never forget this, that the greatest weakness that they listed is the lack of arts and cultural offerings. Now, remember, this is back in 1990 when
we're not
you don't
lacking
see any of this.
anymore. Yes.
Today, you don't hear a whisper. Instead of being the top weakness, it is now listed as the greatest strength. And I say that because to answer the question, arts, cultural, recreation, entertainment is part of the decision of whether or not CEOs will come here. Executives and their workforce have to have something to do after hours in order to attract that talent to a particular area.
Right.
So it is not all about whether or not there's an office building.
Right.
It's what does the total offering look like
Right.
for my entire company, from cost to infrastructure, to office, to fun, play, recreation, concerts. Where are pickleball courts?
Right.
We're asking.
Right.
Where do we go to see museums? So it's all a very, very big part. And as I mentioned earlier, today companies place a much greater focus on what is the quality of life. And whoever has the greatest quality of life and offerings such as arts and culture, then I will decide If you rank high there, then I will put my company.
Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting because the generations today place a greater focus on what is in and around before they will select the actual company. And if there's nothing to do in that particular area, the company says, I can't attract a workforce and that drives my bottom line. Therefore, you're not going to win. And competition are areas like Nashville and Austin.
And if you tie it back to the idea of companies from the Northeast in particular moving to the Southeast,
Yes.
one of the things that New Yorkers,
yes.
Philadelphians, they are accustomed to incredible arts and culture
Absolutely.
as part of their community.
You are spot on. And I remember a quote by the lead person who served as the top executive for the Scripps Research Institute.
Yes.
When they came to Palm Beach Gardens, and they're in a 345,000 square foot facility of research scientists with Nobel laureates. Dr. Harry Orff said, I come from Boston. And he said, one of the greatest cultural arts meccas in the United States. And he said, Palm Beach County could rival them. And I thought that was the greatest
incredible
compliment.
I'd say so.
From an arts perspective here in Palm Beach County. Look how far we've come.
Yeah.
And look how that made a difference.
Right.
Because that science and research, whether you're an engineer at Pratt Whitney or a scientist at Max Planck, they want to ingrain themselves in arts and arts activities.
Right.
It fosters creativity, and creativity drives innovation.
Right. And I think that kind of understanding is meaningful, especially now as there's complicated conversations about whether governmental or taxpayer dollars should be used to support nonprofits and or arts and culture.
Yes.
And I just remember talking with Morgan Furnari she was one of my first guests on the podcast from the American for the Arts Action Fund. And I believe that she said that for every dollar that a municipality gives to support an organization like Arts Garage, they receive 6 back.
Absolutely. No surprise.
So, and knowing the long-term outlook, the big picture of what businesses are looking for, I think confirms how important we are to our community in many, many ways.
Absolutely. And perhaps the community doesn't realize that you play a critical role in the attraction of good quality jobs, and not just the attraction, the retention of what is here in our backyard.
Yeah.
Because back when I first started at the Business Development Board, retaining companies, if you remember, companies like Sony Corporation and Motorola, Pratt Whitney had a downsizing. They left our county.
Right.
They left our county for areas that they thought were richer in a number of different areas, including arts and culture.
Yeah.
And if you're studying this economy, we don't see those departures anymore from Palm Beach County because we as business leaders have worked so hard with organizations like yours to make sure that there's a much better offering all the way around, from costs to arts to buildings to safety.
Right.
To ensure that what we bring here stays here.
Right.
So attraction is not the number one. Retention is equally important.
Right. Thank you for that, Kelly.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that you helped me make my big point today. So thank you.
It's a good and important point.
I find it really mesmerizing what you do. I think it is really theater. I think you are learning a role. You're doing your backstory. You know everything about the organizations that are considering coming here. You know about the organizations that are already here. You understand the people of our area. I think that's a really magical seat you've got.
It is. I'm very blessed. And I think it makes a difference that this is the community that raised me. I was not brought in from the outside.
Right.
Like a lot of economic development presidents are hired to come into a community from out of state, and they do a wonderful job.
Right.
But they weren't born and raised here.
Right.
And so when you are born and raised here, you approach it from a different standpoint. I actually care because my whole family's here.
That's right.
And so while most economic development presidents are focused on just hitting numbers and quantity, I want to be focused and am focused on quality, because this is where my family lives. My father's here, my brother, sister, and all of our children.
I think that's wonderful. And I can't think of a better way to wrap up the podcast. So I'm really, really grateful
No, thank you for the opportunity.
For coming and talking with me today.
Thank you.
For our listeners, please subscribe to the podcast, Culture Under Fire. You can find it on any podcast platform that you listen to. You can also watch the episodes on Arts Garage's YouTube channel. And if you have a suggestion for a guest or topic, we'd love to hear it. You can just send us an email at info@artsgarage.org. We'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Thank you.